welcome to my first ceramics video tutorial. I know when I started doing ceramics, I was really confused about where to start with tools and clay and kilns and firing and everything like that. And I remember believing at the beginning that it would have been such an expensive endeavor to go into, but I want to tell you something, that's not true. There is an easy way to start doing ceramics and start making pieces and firing for most people, and I kind of want to lead you through that today. So, let's talk about tools. I think there is a common misconception with ceramics that you need everything to start, that you need the kiln, the wheel, the studio, and everything like that, but I started with just these 4 tools right here. And I figured the best way to show you this is to make a little mug and then use each tool and show you how I would use it. To start, I'm going to wedge my clay, which is similar to like kneading bread, and then I'm going to use the pinch pot method to make the little bowl of the mug. And I like to use the X-Acto knife to kind of cut off any uneven rim that I have, and then I use the sponge to smooth that out. Then I roll up what will be the handle and use the X-Acto knife once again to cut it and then shape it to the curve that I want. And then to attach those two, I will take the wire tool and score both the side of the mug and the ends of the handle and put a little bit of water on those and then attach the handle to the bowl part of the mug. I like to add a small little roll of clay to where the handle attaches to the mug just to make it really sturdy, and then I'll use the wooden tool to kind of smooth out and make that transition a nice one. And for the finishing touches and tips, don't forget to clean up the area that you have, and then I'll set aside the mug on a wooden shelf, and if I feel that it's too dry, I like to flip the pieces over so that they will not get cracks in the bottom. Let's talk about clay. I think something that's confusing at the beginning is what's the difference between polymer and stoneware clay or any other kind of kiln-fired clay. Polymer usually looks like something like this, and you can find it at Michael's in little tiny plastic bags and stuff, and that kind of clay is a plastic-based clay, whereas stoneware clay, you would generally find it at pottery stores, and it comes in 25-pound bags of clay that look something more like this. And the ways that those two differ is that polymer clay is generally not food safe, and I don't believe you can actually make it food safe. So if you're looking to make some kind of trinket dish or something like that, then go off. I don't really know how to use polymer clay too well, so I hope you find the best tutorial. Maybe send one to me if you do, because that would be kind of interesting. But I want to talk about the kiln-fired clay, ceramics, and pottery, the stuff that kind of I deal with. Ceramic clay, after fired with the right glazes, can be food safe, and it can hold water and everything that you want to know, like that. Now let's talk about underglazes and glazes. Underglaze you would use if you wanted to have fine details or colors on your piece that when put on top of each other don't mix together, whereas glazes do turn into like this liquid form in the kiln, and so you don't want them to touch each other unless you want them to mix. Make sure to keep the bottoms of your piece clean of glaze so that when they fire they don't stick to the kiln shelf. And now we lead into one of the most commonly asked questions, which is how do I fire my pieces? There's a lot of different ways to go about it. I currently have purchased a kiln and I have the kiln hookups for it. But before I ever had my own kiln, I utilized something called kiln firing services, which if you're in any bigger city or if you have any kind of pottery store around you, usually you can go, either they have it on their website or you can go up to their studio and ask them if they do kiln firing services. And kiln firing services are generally priced by piece or by size of piece or by how much space your pieces take up in the kiln. And in my experience, they have been usually around $2 to $4 per like 6-inch piece, and anything greater than that, it goes up by a couple dollars or more. And on that note, let's talk about cost. I'm going to run through about 3 different options of how you could start your pottery journey, starting with the cheapest, which would be working from home on your own desk with your own clay. And all of the tools that I mentioned before can be found on Amazon for about $13 to $15. And that has everything that you need and more. They honestly give you a lot. Bags of clay range from about 18 to 25. Anything else that comes up like underglazes and glazes, that's all based on you. Overall, with that kind of pottery setup, you could probably start with around like $50 to $60 for like a couple months of a fun hobby, which is a great option. The middle one would be joining a pottery studio, which I haven't personally done, but I have had friends that have either joined one or worked at some. And in my area in Seattle, they're about $195 to $330 a month. And those usually include kiln firing services, pottery wheels, tools that you wouldn't have to buy yourself, and they also have like the clay community aspect if you're interested in that. And the most expensive option, I would say, and I wouldn't recommend it to start, but if you have been doing pottery for a long time, you want to branch out, or you need more space, then a pottery studio membership can offer you is building your own studio. I can make a video on this at a later date if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty of it, but that is definitely the most expensive option, with a kiln being around $2,000 to $3,000, a pottery wheel being about $1,000, and if you're renting an office, you have to include that kind of rent, and also it is generally pretty expensive to install a 240 volt outlet into the area you have. I got lucky enough that the office space that I rent for my studio came with a kiln-ready outlet already, and I don't pay electricity, which is huge. But if you aren't near any pottery studios that offer memberships, it could be a great long-term hobby, and I've found and so many people enjoy pottery, and it is exciting to have your own studio either in your house, garage, or anywhere that you want to have it. With all that said, that is all I had for you guys today. Thank you so much for supporting me and listening to this tutorial. I hope it helped, and if you have any other comments, questions, or topics that you would like me to talk about or have a tutorial on, just please write it down in the comments below, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!